All right, let's wrap up this section on culture, where we left off. We were getting ready to move into talking about media, and we're getting ready to move into the political economy of the media. Um, Outside of the sociological imagination, C. Wright Mills also talked about the power elite, that there's a small group of people within societies, our society as well, that um, own the means of production. Now, of course, C. Wright Mills was um, speaking from a Marxian perspective, if you will. Marx talked about this uh, historically, where you have the bourgeoisie who own the means of production, and you have the proletariat who uh, don't. And the haves versus the have-nots. In this scenario, the haves are generally smaller in number than the have-nots. Um, and so media ownership in the United States, and it's starting to move to the world in particular, in general, is in the hands of about 6 companies. Those companies affect the information and messages communicated to the public. These companies are often called media conglomerates because they control not only television, but also websites, magazines, newspapers, radio stations, and more. So if so much of our information is coming from so few sources, the question is, are we really comfortable in the belief that we are getting fair and accurate information? Now, if you've been living anywhere but under a rock the last year or so, you've seen a major attack on the media institutions in reference to whether they're producing accurate information or what is now being referred to as fake news. And you're seeing it from the highest levels of our government. Um, uh, Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, on a regular basis says what's coming from the major media outlets is fake news. And he also says what's coming from the scientific community is fake facts. And he also says what's coming from the legal institutions are fake facts, fake accusations. We've never lived through a president that willingly and woefully attacked the institutions that the United States has held as pillars of our society. But here we are. We're going through just that. And as much as I hate to admit that anything that Donald Trump is saying is accurate, I do worry about the institutions themselves. Noam Chomsky wrote about this and produced a video called Manufacturing Consent. I'll see if I can pull that up and throw it in the culture folder if I can find it. And that's what he was looking at. He was looking at how media has become so concentrated in so few hands, and it's really important in an open society to have media forums that are presenting you with all the information that you need to make a rational and reasonable decision. But he felt that the concentration of power over these companies in so few hands was detrimental to our democracy, and is detrimental to any open and free society that wants to define itself by the distribution of knowledge and the idea that the use of reason and rationality mixed in with some emotions can actually create a functioning, livable, and enjoyable society. The media, especially Advertisements play a large role in the maintenance of consumerism. The belief that the happiness and fulfillment can be achieved through acquisition of material possessions is primary to what the media is telling you. Those commercials, I ask this question often in my classes. What is the media there for? And I get, well, they're there to communicate stuff with us, and they're there to give us news. They're there to create television shows for us. And eventually they get to the point that I'm trying to make, and that is the media is there to sell you stuff. Whether they're selling you ideas, whether they're selling you a way to see the world, the way to live your life, or just straight products that they want you to buy. The fact of the matter is the media is not there for you other than they want you to buy the products that are being sold through their medium. And the ingenious part of it is they charge you for the service. It's crazy. So, and the media has been kind of tricky in this respect as well. When cold advertising doesn't work, they switch their strategies. And now many companies are trying to sell their products through lifestyle. So, if you're a free-loving person, you drink Coke. Customers actually believe that if they acquire the product, their lifestyle will change. Oh, if I only drank a Coke, I'd be able to be walking down that beach or that trail just like that girl. The fact of the matter is, you can walk that beach and you can go down that trail without a Coke. Pour yourself some water out of the sink, get yourself out of your house, and go walk the trail. It's not the Coke that's going to make your lifestyle. It's you. Unless you give that over to media, which they are hoping you will do. If you want some more, I was talking a little bit earlier about how children are used by the media, and Allison Pugh she's got an short interview, discussing how the self-sustaining consumer culture among children plays out differently for low and high income families. You can imagine how that goes, right? If you're a wealthy family and your children are pretty much taken care of, advertising takes on a different light. If you're a poor family and your children don't have most things, advertising is going to be an extremely problematic phenomenon for families to deal with, especially if you don't have money. Because what advertising is doing is it's trying to create wants in children, and then those children go back to their parents and they say, I want this. And their parents either get that for them, or they have to tell them they don't have enough money. And advertising presents a different set of problems, whether you're wealthy or poor, as you can imagine. And as I talked about earlier, the globalization of the media has spread American culture around the world. This affects culture, values, and ideas on others' behaviors, and has experienced a drop in popularity recently because of some of American foreign policies. With the global reach of the media today, American culture can be found in the farthest corners of the world. This soft power, the effects of culture, values, and ideas on others' behaviors, has been much to our detriment, especially right now. Um, uh, Truth be told, the arrival and two-term presidential experience of Barack Obama helped our image in the world. The United States was taking a more global and unified approach, consensus approach, working with NATO, working with the United Nations to push forth ideas that the world wanted. It was very different than the Bush administration, where the United States was a go it alone type of country, and of course what we're seeing now in the Trump administration, where I'm not quite sure what we are, but it doesn't look good, and it's being broadcast all over the world, and people all over the world are right now questioning the legitimacy and standing of the United States, and that's because we are distributing what we're doing and how it's being seen to the rest of the world through our media institutions. And that puts our armed forces in harm's way when they're out there interacting in foreign lands. When we're outside of the country as civilians, the way people see us are much in light of what they see on the media, and so this is there's a lot of influence that's being peddled in the media right now, and it's not always good for the good old United States. And one good example of this is culture jamming. And it's an example of subverting the power of the media. Culture jamming has similarities to vandalism, but it is different in the way that the jammers are trying to convey a social message by rallying against the advertisers or the products they endorse. Adbusters was another one that we used to see. You see a pushback from society. And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing such a push to control the internet, because the internet is one mass media format that has allowed people to express themselves in ways that are hard to control. And the new net neutrality rules that just went into, or that the FCC is putting into play, and that are now being challenged by many states as being unlawful. That's a pushback from those that own the means of production to control those that don't really have ownership of the means of production, but they can use a couple of simple pieces of technology and the internet to actually get their voice out there, and people can hear that. That's a threat to those in power, and those in power will always try to control that. And that's really what net neutrality is all about, is a control of one of the forms of mass media in reference to how it's being used to shape and reshape culture.